Good morning, everyone. Today is April 1st, 2020. Happy April Fool's Day. Welcome to episode 14 of Ask a Property Manager. We're coming to you live today from Studio 1.0 here at Own Buffalo. A little bit different. I moved some more of the studio equipment from the office back to home while we're still working from home. I'm Andrew Schultz, Principal Broker of Own Buffalo Inc. And on today's show, we're going to be discussing some springtime maintenance tips. So yeah, we're back in Studio 1.0, back at my house, and we've been working from home for a while now. It's been an interesting adjustment. I definitely didn't plan on moving all of the studio equipment back over here, but we're basically back up and running on two screens again, which is nice. And we've got all of our lighting and stuff set up, the green screen, the drop screen behind me. Not as nice as the one that we have at the office, but it'll get us through. So before we jump too deep into it, I do want to plug our social media real quick. New episodes of Ask a Property Manager come out every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you're watching this live, chances are you're already following us on Facebook. If not, make sure you head over there, facebook.com/Buffalo Foreclosed Homes. These live episodes go up every Wednesday at 10 a.m. live. You can catch them there. You can also watch them after the fact on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page, which is go over to ownbuffalo.com, click on the YouTube button. Please subscribe over there. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers so that we can get our custom URL. That would really help us out. And we do post content on YouTube that does not find its way onto Facebook as well. So it's good to check both locations if you're interested in the stuff that we're putting out. Last but not least, grab a free 30-minute consultation call with me over at ownbuffalo.com. Guys, these are unprecedented times we're in right now. If you need help navigating through the situation, talking to your tenants, need some advice, grab a consult. They're free. It's not a plug. I'm not trying to sell you something. It's literally just call and we'll see if we can do something to help you with your situation. Keep in mind, I'm in New York. I don't know the laws of every state, nor am I an attorney. So take any advice that you do get from this show with a grain of salt, or even from the consult calls. Make sure that you consult with your attorney before you act on anything. Just good advice to keep in mind in general. I do want to show you real quick, though, we do have a ton of open time slots this week, Thursday and Friday, and then hopefully I can get this to pull up for next week as well. It opened up a bunch of time slots next week just to help people during this time. Doesn't look like next week wants to load up, but we'll drop back to the social media page here real quick. If you guys have any more questions on the social media, you can always reach out and I would be glad to talk to you. So I do want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about the coronavirus this morning. I don't want to get too in-depth with it. We've already had several videos where we've discussed it. There hasn't really been a drastically large amount of new information that's come out in the last couple days, so I don't really feel like beating the dead horse. That being said, if you didn't see our video on Friday, let me jump back over to desktop here. If you didn't catch our video on Friday, I put out a nice video that talked about the stimulus package, the CARES Act, and how that impacts both landlords, property owners, as well as just average property owners in terms of like the mortgage forbearance periods and things of that nature. So there's some information to be had in that video. You can grab that on our Facebook page. You can also find a link to that in the description of this video if you haven't seen that already. All right, moving right along. I did plug the stimulus video. So like I said, if you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, it's only 10 minutes, but it gives you a really good insight as to what sorts of protections are going to be in play, not just for property owners, but also for tenants moving forward. So it's a good video to watch. Again, it's 10 minutes in length. Grab that one, take a quick look at it. Let me know if you guys have questions. Today is April 1st. Rents are due in New York State, and there are no moratoriums on rents in New York State currently. I know that there's a bill that's currently working its way through the state legislature, trying to put a moratorium on rents, but to the best of my knowledge, that has not yet passed. So rents are due today, just as one would expect. Be prepared with a plan when your tenants come to you and have a situation where they've been impacted by coronavirus, by COVID-19. Have a plan in place, a written plan in place for how you want to handle that situation. Stick to your written plan and don't deviate from your plan. Make sure you're applying the same criteria across all tenants. And make sure, like I said, make sure that you have a set of written criteria. That's really going to help you to say, well, this is what we're doing. This is what we're able to offer. So if you're more information on that, you can catch last week's Ask a Property Manager episode, where we discussed the impact on rents and things like that. So that's enough about coronavirus. We've all talked about it. It's been talked about to death. Let's move on to something a little bit more positive. Let's talk about spring maintenance tips for the exterior of your home. The first tip that I wanted to bring to you today: fix your home from the outside in. And this is critically important. The reason I say that is because if you have issues on the outside of your home that are going to allow, for instance, like a water infiltration issue, maybe you have a leaking roof, or water's coming in around a window or something like that. That's the type of stuff that you want to fix sooner rather than later. If you have an issue in the home's envelope, it's eventually going to lead to a much larger installation or larger issue, such as deterioration, rot, mold, etc. So definitely fix your home from the outside in. That's the most critical thing that I can say here today. Take care of your outside maintenance stuff early and often. Roof and chimney, check for deterioration. So we have a couple of photos here. These are actually photos that I've taken from a couple of properties that I've been out at. One of them was a foreclosure, one of them was a client property. The photo on the left you can see is a deteriorated chimney. That chimney probably needs to be rebuilt from scratch. It looks to me as though the last remaining bits of mortar are on their way out, and that chimney is due for rebuild, it's sure. And then the photo on the right shows some missing shingles. These are actually the cap shingles that sit right at the top of the ridge. And we found this during a routine inspection, actually. So this is something that there's definitely water that's been infiltrating into that, but it hasn't created any visible signs of water leak on the inside of the property, so the tenant wasn't aware of it. We were at the property to conduct a semi-annual inspection or a biannual inspection, once every 6 months. We were out to property to conduct an inspection, and our inspector looked out the window and saw that and forwarded that over to us. That's a major issue. Like, those are the kinds of things that you want to catch and fix before they become a major concern. That's why we do the inspections once every 6 months, to try to catch this stuff. So roof and chimney, definitely things that you want to take into account when you're working your way through the outside of your property. Gutters. There's a few different things that I want to talk about when it comes to gutters. The photo here you can see, hopefully you can see, it's a little bit small. The gutter on this property goes down about halfway and then just stops. There's no downspout to bring the water to the ground. There's no splash block or anything for the water to fall onto to direct the water. It's literally just, it's half of the roof is draining down onto this gutter. It's running to the end of the gutter and then just running out onto the ground. So that's definitely a concern that needs to be addressed. You want to have a complete gutter system on your property. You want to make sure that all of your downspouts are properly connected. The downspout is the portion of the gutter system that runs from the actual gutter down to the ground. Then you'll come down and you'll have your angle, and then usually a splash block or something like that. You want to make sure that the water is being redirected away from the foundation of the home whenever possible. Letting that water sit along the foundation is not going to do you any favors. At the very least, it's going to cause soil erosion. At the most, it's going to start creating a damp situation in your basement, which you don't want. So avoid that at all costs. Make sure that your gutters are, or your downspouts are aimed in such a direction that the water is flowing away from your house. Super important tip. One thing I did not mention, on the gutters themselves, make sure that all of your spikes are in and secure. A lot of times, especially here in Buffalo or other cold weather climates where you get snow and icicles that'll form on the gutters and kind of hang down, what they'll do is over time they'll start to pull those gutters away from the house. You want to make sure that the gutters are up tight against the house and all of the spikes are driven in all the way to ensure that you're not, that your gutter's not at risk of falling off of the property. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as well. So grading, this one's pretty important as well. I actually took this photo from a home inspection that we had done. Whenever possible, you want the grade of the soil to work away from the property. So if this is the outside wall of your home, you want to have the grading away from the home. You want it to slope away as opposed to towards the home. Anytime you have a situation where water is running toward the home, you're going to wind up with that same type of situation as if the gutter was just, dropping water right next to the foundation of the house. It'll lead to further soil erosion. It's going to create, possibly a dampness issue in your basement if you have a basement. It's just bad to have water sitting along the foundation of your property. So anytime that you can work to avoid that, that's definitely what you're going to want to do. So to keep in mind, again, you can see on this photo, this grading is incorrect. You want the grading to slope slightly away from the property. Cleaning and sealing decks. This is a big one, especially if you have an older deck. Go through and have the deck power washed and then either stained or painted. We typically will put these on a maintenance rotation so that we're doing them once every few years to make sure that they're staying maintained. You can see a quick before and after here. This is not one of my photos. I borrowed this one from the internet, but you can see that the before photo and the after photo, obviously stark difference there. The before photo obviously had not yet been power washed, and then after it's been power washed, and it looks like they put a couple of coats of sealant on that. This is also a good time to check for any loose boards, especially on steps and things of that nature. You don't want a loose step board that causes somebody to trip and fall. Check for things like splintering wood, cracked wood, things like that. Really easy to walk around your deck and identify a couple of things that could be corrected when you're doing this, just to make your home that much more safe and secure. And then we're going to go into rapid fire around here a little bit. We just have a few more things that I wanted to mention. Check for cracked siding and exterior paint. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Anytime that that water can penetrate the exterior envelope of your home, you're going to have a bad time. Make sure that you're taking care of the paint on your property on a recurring basis. A lot of times you can do touch-up paint without having to do a full-on restoration or a full-on repaint for several years. And then obviously if the home is at the point where it needs to be painted, make sure that you have that job professionally done so that it's scraped and painted properly. Sometimes there are lead paint concerns depending on what time of when the home was built. You may want to take that into account as well. Definitely take that into account as well, because if you get caught doing a lead paint job without having the proper certifications and clearances, it can really come back to bite you. Springtime is an excellent time to remove storm windows and install screens. It's also a good time to repair screens that have been ripped. Checking windows to make sure that they open and close properly and lock. All super important things to take care of, especially during the springtime when people are going to be using their windows more. But definitely make sure that you have good working screens on every window. I know in New York State you are required to have at least one screen per room, I think it is. I'd have to double check on that, but there is a requirement that if you have a window and the window opens, it has to have a screen attached to it. Checking for cracks in brickworks and foundation. This is pretty straightforward, and again, it goes right back to that exterior envelope that we keep talking about. Anytime that you can prevent water or moisture from finding its way into your home, the better off you are. This is particularly important with bricks. A lot of times you'll see different settling cracks and things like that with bricks. It may be indicative of a structural concern. Talk to a structural engineer if that is your concern. But a lot of times what you'll get is basic step cracking between the mortar joints and things like that. That's a situation where you could easily just grind that out and repoint that and not have to worry about the water infiltrating into the home at that point. And along the foundation, this is a good one to check both interior and exterior to the home, especially if you're getting moisture in the basement. You definitely want to check and see if there's a crack that's what's causing the water to find its way in, and then get that repaired if necessary. And this last one's actually pretty big. Check for sidewalks and driveways for cracking and shifting. So this becomes a trip hazard over time. What'll happen, especially in a cold weather climate where you have freeze-thaw cycles, and sidewalks will eventually start to buckle and shift. So you'll have one that's kind of up on top of another, or just they're uneven. Happens a lot with sidewalks, and what'll happen is as somebody's walking, if they're not paying attention, that creates a very easy trip hazard for someone. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that your sidewalks are relatively level and things of that nature. Guys, that pretty much wraps up our tips and tricks for exterior maintenance for the springtime. I do want to take this opportunity to say, please stay safe. I know that everybody is starting to get antsy about being locked inside for as long as we have been. Stay safe. We'll get through this. We will come out the other side of it, and we will come out the other side of it stronger, both personally and as a community, I think. It's just a matter of we have to do this right now. We all know it's inconvenient, but it does help us all in the long run. So stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate it. New episodes of Ask a Property Manager come out every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We love producing Ask a Property Manager, and you can help us improve. Drop us a comment or a question either on Facebook or YouTube. We might pick your question up and answer it in an upcoming episode. If you enjoyed the content or if I brought some value to your day, please do me a favor and like us, like the video. It helps other people like you to find us, and that's really what it's all about, is getting this information out to as many people as we can, whoever will find it useful. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/buffalo4closedhomes. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at www.ownbuffalo.com. Click on the YouTube link and hit subscribe. Again, we're trying to hit that 100 subscriber mark. Anything you can do to help us by throwing a subscription our way definitely helps us get there. Last but not least, grab your free 30-minute phone consultation over at ownbuffalo.com. Next week's episode will air on April 8th, which is next Wednesday at 10 a.m., and that's going to be a question and answer session. We're going to be pulling some questions together and giving our perspective as professional property managers. Thank you so much for watching. We truly do appreciate it. And we will talk to you guys next week on Wednesday. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.